Hello viewers and welcome to another 20% race in. This time we're at Brazil. We're getting the Ferrari because it's a car I'm used to and away off the line. Got a good start as well. I am finding a way to the start, but I'll come back to that. So around the first couple of corners, then down to second gear, trying not to touch anybody, keep it as clean as possible and get some track position. I'm aware that my curves down this straight is going to give me some boost here, so I'm using some curves, getting past Mark Webber. Nice on the inside. I have to slow right down there into fourth, had to wait to get on the power and push Mark Webber out, and now we're chasing down Felipe on his home circuit. The crowd there cheering Felipe home while I chase on. Of course the tyres are quite cold here at the moment, so the car's a bit sloppy, it's easy to spin out. I'm using a medium traction control setting and testing that out. Quite like it so far actually. It's a really nice balance between TCS on and off. It really if the car does start to give, it just gives you that additional second to lift, but the car can still spin out, which is great. There's a really nice balance between them. So around the first lap then, using all the rest of my curves up the hill. This is a critical place where you'll see me saving curves for the rest of the race, and as the field sort of forms up and where they are behind me, but obviously no DRS yet. I'm just covering the inside to where Mark Webber is. Oh no, that isn't. That's Jensen Button there, looking for a way past. None of that. So round the centre S and onto lap 2. Again, saving some curves for the straight. See if I can get past Felipe again. Not this time. Not close enough. More important to concentrate on the long race. So a lot of people asking me about handling. I'm really liking it. Just looking at this race now, there is that kind of racy atmosphere to it. The cars seem to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. The speed seems to be relative with the different cars as well, and the strengths and weaknesses and performance. And the handling here has a really nice balance as well. It's a lot less sort of rigid than it was in F1 2010. There's a lot more movement in the car. There's a lot more body language. There's a lot more feel for the driver. Lifting a little bit down the hill. And again, looking just to keep a good line, because I know that obviously tyres can fade, and that's when you really want to put in some good times if you've got it. Using all of my curves again there, saving it for this point. Coming up now, I've got the speed on the outside, and I know I can take it because Fernando is faster than you. It has to be said every time. But no, it's round lap 2 then, onto lap 3. And good lap there as well. That was a nice early lap. Once your tyres come up to temperature, you suddenly have like loads of grip for a few laps, and it means you can really sort of hammer the car around. But obviously if you get a lot of wheel spin, if you brake hard, you're going to rinse out your tyres pretty quickly. It's been asked for me lots of questions on handling and tyres and all the rest of it. And unfortunately the races that you see a lot of the time are the races I've done. I had 2 restarts on this race where I binned it once in the pits. Coming out of the pits, on the new tyres, and it was a really good race actually. It was a much more exciting one than this one, but unfortunately it does happen. So I'm still learning and discovering my way around the circuit, and did a few practice laps on this last night just to learn the different braking points and finding my line. But I know the circuit well, so I'm into a flow now. Now it might seem boring from a visual point of view, but I was actually quite pleased just to get track position now and keep it in the lead. I knew I could keep them covered pretty much until the pit stops. Some of the other cars are pretty quick, so they will come back at me later in the race. But for me now, it's just a case of getting into a flow, keeping this as long as possible, and just maximising my own pace. Really nice though, you really do feel like it's a kind of a Grand Prix environment. The sound is fantastic. I really like the sound actually. There's a lot going on there, and I know people have said about the blown diffusers, but actually I think blown diffusers sound awful when you're at the circuit. You don't hear the blown diffusers at all on the outside, and they got in each other's way. And the slow corner again. This is a tricky corner though, this second into third, because you get loads of wheel spin on the exit of it there, and every time I come round that, I'm almost on the limit of grip essentially. There's a lot of wheel spin there, and as I say, even though there's medium traction control, there's still that you can spin out very easily. It's just that a couple of times it just helps you with just with the progression of power essentially. So around this lap now, you see my tyres are wearing a bit more now, so They're on the way out, so I'm on the way into the pits. Broke a bit early because I haven't practiced the pit stops or anything like that. I'm using automatic pit stops at the moment just to get these videos done for you guys, but there'll be some manual pit stops to come in future videos. No doubt many of you will own it by then as well. So, having to wait now an 8-second stop, so I lost 4.5 seconds on the leaders there, and that wasn't great for my race, unfortunately. That pretty much stuffs the opportunity of a win there. So coming out the pits, very tricky pit exit here, going as fast as I can, but obviously I don't want to bin it on the grass. Somebody mentioned about the white line penalty. I don't know yet, I didn't want to find out then, I just wanted to finish the race. That's something I will have to test out. So very slow there around that first corner. I now know that when I leave the pits to take the first 2 or 3 corners very slowly indeed, because otherwise you're going to be all over the place. I come around here and immediately I see the back end coming out there. Whoa! So it tells me that my tyres are not up to temperature, and I'm going to need to be a bit careful for the rest of this lap. So these are all tricky corners, very progressive on the power there. You can see, I think it's Alguersuari is behind me. I'm looking for a way past. I thought none of that. I know I've got the speed down the straight to pull out on him anyway, and I've got a full curve there. So coming around the final corner, slower on the power than I'd like to be, but using the curves up the hill, and that's really nice. Pull out a bit of an advantage on him there, so I don't expect he'll be passing me into this corner. Keeping the car nice and straight and just trying to maximise my speed and my braking zone. Going around in the wrong gear there, it's made a mistake. I was concentrating more on where he was than what I was supposed to be doing. I think that's one thing about racing, you know, the more experience you have, the more you become aware, but right then you're thinking about your DRS and your curves and everything else. Sometimes you can get caught out on a gear change here and there. So 4th gear, back end still sliding. I still don't feel that my tyres are perfectly up to temperature yet, but I am pushing slightly harder now. I'm thinking, well, you know, we've got to go for it, we can't hang about. And just a few high-speed corners there, and suddenly the car balance changes quite a bit, and I'm back up to full race pace again. So it took me, you know, a lap and a half to actually, you know, get them going again and start closing the gap now. So that's Petrov in front of me. So my poor pit stop essentially cost me the lead, cost me that position as well to Petrov. So I lost a lot of ground. You know, and probably a slow out lap as well. We lost a second there, so I probably lost 5.5 seconds, which has essentially cost me a good position in the race. But it can happen in Formula 1. So now I just want to close up on Petrov and see if I can get that place off him. Also aware now that Nico Rosberg is behind me as well, having pitted from Mercedes. So closing the gap, and it's interesting now to see, you know, where you can close. You know, I am going to be doing a race on the India circuit as well, and I had a quick go earlier and fell off the track a couple of times. It's a very tricky technical circuit, especially when you're pushing. You know, you've really got to do a lot of practice laps before you can push, because you know it is just so technical, and there's so much that can throw the car off when you don't know it that well. Obviously with Brazil here, I've been playing this circuit on different games for many years. So closing on Petrov now. Again, you need some patience for some of this. Brake again, just it's about braking points progressively on the power, using curves up the hill. I'm not in DRS zone yet, so I can't use DRS yet. I'm just over a second behind. So just focusing on putting in a good lap here to try and close the gap. I'm aware obviously Nico Rosberg is behind me, but you know, I've got to just get on with the business now and close on Petrov. And I think to myself, am I close enough here? Not really, to use my DRS. Oh, not my DRS, sorry, my curves. So a little bit of curves, but I'm aware that if I can just stay close to him next lap, I should be pretty close. Trying to stick as close to him as possible. There's no loss of downforce when you're following another car here. Just if you had any questions on that, I've not noticed any loss of downforce. That's a good thing actually, otherwise it's going to be very difficult. Too late braking there, and that cost me a bit of track position, a bit of track time. He broke slightly early than I was expecting to there, so I had to take averting action. In the slow section, I'm thinking, can I build towards the start-finish line and use all of that curves? Taking it nice and smooth. A little bit of a lift in that corner then, just to keep it nice and smooth and balanced. A little bit of understeer, but we're up the hill using all the curves now. And this main straight, still not close enough to use DRS this time. Again, Nico Rosberg having a look behind me. But not close enough this time. Back end always likes to come out in that corner. It's still always tricky. You've got to let the car turn in and then progressively accelerate. If you put your foot down too quickly, you'll spin out there at the bottom of the center S curve there. And then down this straight, I'm just looking to turn in early here and then progressively accelerate when I know the car's comfortably in it. That outer curve, as I say, can throw you off at times. Trying to hang on. I'm a lot quicker than Petrov, but obviously that mistake earlier has cost me dearly, as has the poor pit stop. I'm thinking, you know, let's repair the damage for this race. It's got to be done. So it's a proper racing feel to it all. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to racing some people online as well, and seeing how that all works with some responsible racers who are responsible when it comes to racing and overtaking. Because otherwise there could be carnage. Right, I think I've used DRS, and there we go, using DRS now. So I just got within that second there, and using DRS. Wow, massive closing speed, nearly a massive accident there, but I was stamping on the brakes, and now I know, right, I'm going to use all my curves now. Time to do him, all the curves. Lovely. I didn't want to go right over the pits there. I didn't know if anyone was coming out the pit lane, so I thought, knowing my luck, I'll end up piling into back of somebody. So around here again, coming up behind the HRT. And I didn't know what the HRT was doing. He turned in towards the apex, and I thought, oh, is he letting me through or isn't he? And then I thought, right, he's letting me through. A little bit of an attack there. HRT, a little bit of indecision from the HRT there. So again, on with the job. Trying to close the gap, but I'm aware now that the gap to the McLarens and Red Bulls in front is probably a bit too much for me to close. They're not that far ahead, you know, just that 5 seconds has made all the difference there. You can see, what is that, Webber? A few seconds ahead there. I can't see how many seconds, unfortunately. About 4 seconds ahead for Webber, so it's pretty close for those front few all sort of piled together on the track there, McLarens and Red Bulls. I think Massa's in there somewhere as well. So I'm coming up on a couple more back runners here. This is a tricky situation now. You see I come up behind the Virgin, and the Virgin actually goes offline for me. I didn't realise at first that he wasn't taking the racing line, so he turned inside and I managed to avoid him, and then I went inside again. Nice. That could have been a horrible accident 13 laps into the race. I didn't want that. That wouldn't have been good. I would not have been happy. So coming around now then, I know there's a couple of laps to go. That's the other cars in front, but trying to close the gap now with limited time. See here, I think it's another HRT to pass as well. I know my tyres are gradually wearing as well, so they're past their best. Use that behind Petrov. There's that Liuzzi there. So coming up. Back runners, AI back runners are always tricky, aren't they? And he sent me wide because he broke on the racing line. I thought he was going to give me space, and he didn't. So I get past him now, having to go wide there. That was very tricky. And now time for a little Alonso wave as well. What was that all about? I'm sure Fernando would have been doing that had he been trapped behind the HRT like that. So closing up now, final lap. It's been a lot of fun on this race. Say a couple of restarts, but you know, it's I'm looking forward to the full-length Grand Prix, which I won't be able to stream now, unfortunately, but I will be having some streams in the days to come. And I think to myself, right, consolidate this position. This is when you suddenly think to yourself, oh, I'm on my final lap. I've made a video racing around Brazil. I don't want to crash it now. Let's just get it to the end. And I used a little bit of curves early on because I thought may as well. Let's see if anyone can crash off, anything like that. But the AI have been pretty strong, and let's face it, the real drivers have been pretty strong this year. Not many mistakes from them these days. And the last couple of corners, the Glock bend, and up the hill, using all the curves, and A win is coming up there to Jenson Button. Good win for him to finish the season, and a good race for me as well. That's a race of Brazil.